So as a massive Pirates fan, mainly from the video game series Monkey Island, as well as the incredible live action movie series Pirates of the Caribbean, I absolutely loved One Piece. It was just so good. And it just really did bring new meaning to the swashbuckling fantasy adventure, comedy horror adventure series, which was just absolutely brilliant. And just like the recently released Super Mario Bros. Animated movie did, it was just so faithful to its source material of over 1,000 anime episodes, but they did do new things for those anime fans in terms of bringing new twists to certain adventures and really bringing a bit of a horror edge to it while still retaining all of the fun and funny aspects that people have come to know and love and expect with One Piece. It was just coming together so well, and what I also loved is that it just looked absolutely unbelievable, truly movie level, which is really ironic, as certain movie productions, even though they have a massive budget, they don't look that great from a CGI point of view. But there was not even one occasion across all of the 8 episodes in the One Piece live action series that you could think, oh god, that looks a bit rubbish, as all of the over-the-top characters and all of the fight sequences and all of the powers that certain characters use, all of it was actually quite believable. So you're just transported into this world so well, which, like I said, every single episode did feel like a bit of a movie and did look on that A-grade movie level. And it was just so character driven to the point where it's so emotional, as you're not only invested with each and every single member of the Straw Hat Pirates, but everyone from an individual perspective, you really can connect with their backstories. And as you're accumulating more and more crew members, each one of them has just got such a heartbreaking past story. And I just loved all of the East Blue adventures that this first season was adapting, as it just got bigger and better and bolder as the series was progressing. But like I said, we first start off by accumulating all of the crew members, a little bit like Ash is catching Pokemon, Luffy is accumulating crew members, and all of them are just so rounded as characters, and I just loved all of the little adventures that they went on. So for example, starting with Gold Roger's fabled mythical treasure that so many characters are now trying to find, and then we have Axe Hand, who is the only person really that has a map to the Grand Line to try and find this treasure. So trying to get that map and then ultimately defeating Axe Hand was such a brilliant first episode. And then trying to escape Buggy the Clown, saving both Kaya and Nami from their own particular evil villainous pirate. And then just coming across all of these brilliantly layered characters. Speaking of which, let's go through all of the main players now. So I absolutely love Monkey D. Luffy. I think he's such an enthusiastic, endearing lead character that you actually discover a lot of the things that take place in this fantasy world. For example, the Devil Fruit, which might give you superpowers. For example, with Monkey's case, he's got these incredibly brilliant powers in terms of turning himself into a rubber band. And some of his stretchy powers did actually look a lot better than you have seen Reed Richards do this in the Fantastic Four movies, but there is a bit of a consequence, which is why it's called Devil Fruit, as when you're thrown in the water, then Mother Nature will restrict your ability for swimming out. And I also think, as a happy-go-lucky character, he is such an endearing lead character, and he's also pretty empathetic, which you wouldn't think because he's such a crazy enthusiastic, but through his empathy, he is able to really understand characters on a deeper level and is able to tell them exactly what they need to hear, to feel more encouraged, to feel like they're stronger, and also ultimately to get what he wants. So I think he's such an incredibly brilliant and clever lead character. And this actor similarly did a really good job in The Imperfects, which was also on Netflix. So it was really brilliant to also see him within the Netflix family. And from a leadership perspective, I think is really brilliant, as he is able to have such a clear goal in terms of what he wants to achieve, which is trying to get the One Piece treasure and then ultimately become king of the pirates, which may well be pretty far-fetched. And if you have seen the anime, then you will see that it is a lot of adventurous stuff that he has to go through to ultimately try and achieve this. But I just think it's really, really brilliant how, like I said, he's got this dream, has got this ambition that he wants to achieve. And through this, he is able to understand what is the dream of my crew members, what is the dream of other people. And like I said, he is really able to motivate them because of this. And I also loved all of his family relationships, of course, with Shanks, who was a bit of an adoptive father to him, as well as the Vice Admiral, who is ultimately his grandfather. So I just thought it was such a clever way of really facing the protagonist with the antagonist, along with having lots of other pirates, having lots of other crazy characters. So it was just coming together so well. And Monkey D. Luffy is also brilliant on the battlefield. So all of the fight sequences, all of the end battle moves, the way in which he's always just having fun when he's even on the battlefield, all of those fight sequences were just looking really good. And speaking of fight sequences that look really good, Zoro was absolutely outstanding, especially the sequences in which he's using all three swords. And he is a bit of a quiet and broody type, but you understand why when you go into his backstory and the fact that his best friend died, and his best friend was actually a more superior swords master than him, and he was learning from her, and he is now repaying her memory. I just think, honestly, his backstory was so emotional, and his dream is now to be the master swordsman and cross the entire seas. And I love how you find out a lot more about this character as the series is progressing, and his battle with Mihawk was just so awesome, and actually Mihawk ultimately defeated him and could have killed him off, and you are actually thinking that Zoro is going to be killed off. And all of those emotional sequences, like I said, this series was just such a cry fest, as every single episode just really had moments that pulled on your heartstrings. Next up, let's speak about Nami. So in the beginning, it seems as if she's a really uptight thief, but I did love the little trio relationship that we have with her, Monkey, and with Zoro. I feel like all three of them were really brilliant as a bit of a team in the beginning, which is why it's so shocking that she then seemingly betrays them for Arlong and is happy for Luffy to ultimately die in the sea, although I'm sure she just did that so that the Arlong character doesn't eat him to death. But then we have another incredibly emotional backstory. So in Nami's case, firstly she was orphaned, and then she has to witness her mother sacrificing her life in order to save Nami and her sister. And then it seems as if she is going to betray everybody in her town, as she is then joining Arlong, who makes her a slave and map creator, and she is actually doing all of this because she ultimately wants to free her village. But then Arlong doesn't even allow this, steals all of the money, and then destroys the village. So honestly, it was just so much betrayal, so many shocking moments, and like I said, such an emotional backstory for this character. But she is still able to be really confident, able to pick herself up, even though that emotional breakdown where she was just begging Luffy to help her was just so powerful. And it was really nice to ultimately see her returning back to the Straw Hat Pirates, as like I said, she just fits in with that crew so nicely. Currently, Usopp is the weakest within the crew, and I just wish that they would just do a little bit more with this character. I mean, his backstory when he sees his mother passing away and the fact that he knows that his dad is out there being a pirate is really emotional too, but I just feel like they could do a bit more with his characters. Currently, he isn't really contributing much from a storyline perspective. Sure, it's really funny when he tells these elaborate stories and goes a little bit over the top with them, but I don't think he's contributing that much to the group at the moment. At least from a storyline perspective, what was really good is that he really brought the group into the Chaos storyline, which was equally absolutely brilliant. I mean, you could immediately see the fact that Kalidor is poisoning Kaya because he ultimately wants to steal all of her money. I feel like you could really immediately see that right from the beginning, as it was super predictable. But that storyline is spanned over 2 episodes, and the fact that he was just throwing Zoro into the well and his cat pirate group did seem as if they're going to be pretty unstoppable, especially after they mercilessly killed the Merry character. What I would love is just to find out a little bit more about Kalidor's backstory, as he was teasing the fact that, you know, all of his crew members ultimately were going to betray him, but before they were able to do so, he murdered all of them. So I would have loved to see a little bit more about what happened to him in the past, but he does escape, so I'm sure we will see him again in the future. And then finally, from a Straw Hat crew perspective, we then have Sanji, who in the beginning seems as if he's just a bit unappreciated and is always really obsessed with women, but then when you find out his backstory, and in particular what Chef Zaf did in terms of sacrificing his own leg in order for Sanji to have all of the food, was just so heartbreaking. And I just loved all of their exchanges after that, as you could really see that Chef Zaf was a lovely mentor and father paternal figure towards Sanji, and like I said, was just willing to sacrifice everything for his adopted son. It was just so tear-jerking, and Sanji at the same time is not only a brilliant cook, but is also a brilliant fighter. And I love the friendly rivalry between him and Zoro. I feel like as a pairing, they are really, really funny. And Kobe is a really cool character. You were thinking that you're never going to see Kobe again after the first episode, but actually he was serving as a bit of a main character from the antagonist side, and it was seeming as if they were building up Luffy and Kobe at the same time to ultimately have a bit of a fallout in the future. Or maybe they're going to be doing what they did with Black Widow and Civil War, that even though she was on Iron Man's side in the beginning, she ultimately did help Bucky and Cap towards the end. And then speaking of antagonists, I love Vice Admiral. I think he's such a cool character, and his Scottish voice is really, really brilliant. And I love the fact that, you know, they are pitting him as a rival against Monkey D. Luffy, and you would think, you know, surely Vice Admiral is easily going to beat him. And just the fight that these two characters have towards the end was firstly looking really, really brilliant, but also I love the fact, as we have with a lot of other characters in this series, that all of the family dynamics are just so good. As firstly, Vice Admiral, of course, is his grandfather, but is pretty much on the Marine Police side, and Monkey D. Luffy represents everything that this character should hate, but actually is ultimately revealed that Vice Admiral is doing all of this because he really wants to train up Monkey D. Luffy, as he is saying, look, if this is what you want to do, then you need to be brilliant at it, but now don't expect any favors after this. And of course, his adoptive father, Shanks, is still out there, so I'm looking forward to seeing their relationship blossom in the future. And Buggy the Clown was absolutely brilliant, a little bit of a less psychotic version of the Joker, even though they did kind of want to have a lot of those attributes within this character. And he was really, really good, as he was appearing in multiple episodes, even after his first big appearance in episode 2. Hal Meppo was really, really funny. Of course, he was a true villain towards Zoro, and then had a bit of a rivalry also with Kobe, but then by the end of the series, they had a really nice friendship. And I just love the fact that, you know, Monkey D. Luffy is saving Kobe right in the beginning from Alvida. And we also had Ian McShane narrating the first episode. Of course, he is the legendary character from the original Pirates of the Caribbean movie, so it was really, really wicked to see him here too. And then alongside Vice Admiral, we also had Arlong, who was pretty much the big bad in the first season. In the last couple of episodes in particular, this guy was just showing that he is the true definition of a ruthless character. I mean, I really like the fact that you can understand where this character is coming from, as him and his people have been so oppressed by humans, and if you constantly oppress people, then ultimately they will come out and explode on you. So I feel like you can understand where he's coming from, but I loved Monkey D. Luffy's line, which is like, look, you are no better than the other evil villainous characters that we have defeated, as they may well think that they are right in what they are doing, but they are doing something that's really catastrophic. And the fact that he is just destroying villages, killing people, betraying people, stealing things just for his own selfish need, and the way in which Monkey D. Luffy ultimately defeated him, I think was absolutely brilliant and so justified, as like I said, he just caused so much chaos and carnage and wanted to just rule the seas, and you don't see him dying, so I'm sure we will one day see him again. But now let's talk about what's going to happen potentially in seasons 2 and beyond. So of course we're going to get loads more new characters, loads of massive mega awesome pirates. There are of course other locations for seas, for example the North Blue, completely the East Blue, we've got the West Blue and the South Blue, so maybe we'll see those. But we'll also see adventures across the Grand Line, which is where loads of brilliant pirate characters are being located. And we also have Monkey D. Luffy's real life father out there. We've also got adopted brothers of him out there, so I cannot wait for even more family reunions. We're of course going to get more crew members and the government that actually properly look after all of the seas, and they are just as twisted from a political point of view that the Marines are, in terms of using particular pirates for their own selfish needs. And I loved the tease right at the end of the series of Blackbeard, as he is a brilliant character, and a lot of these future pirates that we are going to see have got lots of cool devil fruit type powers, as they are all so desperate to try and find the treasure. And it's just going to be so cool just seeing all of the adapted magna anime series coming to life. And I would compare this series a little bit to The Sandman in terms of having particular episodes that are really contained, whilst also having incredibly brilliant characters being introduced, whilst also having overarching storyline ambitions, with also having a bit of a horror edge in there. So even though they do occupy different tones and genres, I just loved both shows so much. I just loved all of the characters that they had in this series, all of the storylines that they went on, all of the emotional backstories, all of the adventures, all of the battles, all of the fighting, all of the CGI, all of the character makeup, everything just looked so good. And we really do need to see what happens next. I'm just so hopeful that loads of people watch this show, even though it didn't have that much marketing, as of course we are in a bit of a strike period. So I hope that gets considered and factored into the decision making as to whether or not they are going to produce more seasons. As like I said, this show was just so good and just has such an exciting future. So I can't wait to hopefully see what's going to happen in the future of One Piece. But as far as the first season is concerned, I absolutely loved it, and so I'm going to give it a mega 9 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear what you thought of this show, so please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.